So welcome everybody who's joining me now, and welcome to anybody who's joining me later. This particular topic has got a lot of interest lately because there's a lot of emotional challenges around, as I no doubt you all know, during COVID, and especially at this time with the neurodivergent students, we've quite often got a lot of emotional challenges, but this is just making matters worse. And so this is a very short video to just give you 10 minutes to think about something different that might well be affecting your child. And so let's look at this. Why mouth breathing? I talk about breathing all the time, and you are more than welcome to come back and ask me questions because I've been studying it for the last year. And the first question I would ask you is, are you a mouth breather or a nose breather? And you probably don't know. This has been going on, in my life, this has been going on for decades. And I didn't realize until just about a year ago that I was a mouth breather. And I had no concept that actually you could be a nose breather and that it might even be a good idea. And so the first thing is, why does it happen to people? I think mainly it's a habit. If you don't know the advantages of being a nose breather, then you're probably not even considering it. It wasn't as if I couldn't do it, but I'd never even thought of doing it. And that's the sort of thing that really annoys me, that if I've never thought of doing something and then somebody says, well, you know, it might be the way you're breathing. Of course, you can have a blocked nose, and that can have gone on for years. You could have had a blocked nose when you were a child, and after getting your nose cleared, you just never got back into nose breathing again. Of course, you can have your adenoids out or your tonsils out, which might be another reason why you got into that habit. And one of the things to do is watch people when they're watching the television. You don't really need to talk when they're watching the television. And if they're not eating, then just watch them and see what's going on for them. And of course, another thing that could be a habit related to this, which is snoring. That's a very common way of finding out whether you're living with a nose breather or a mouth breather. So, what happened? Breathing in through your mouth triggers your sympathetic system, which is your fight and flight. Your shoulders go up typically, and if you think of just being shocked and you go like, that's it. That's exactly what you're doing. So you've got a big trigger to breathe in, and you're putting yourself into stress. So I'll just try and take myself out of stress. Breathing out through your mouth releases too much carbon dioxide, which is really important for oxygenation. So if you struggle with feeling wobbly, having wobbly legs, feeling a bit unstable on your feet, poor digestion, or brain that goes into hyperactivity, you're probably breathing out too much carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the key to enabling oxygen to move from your blood vessels into your cells, your muscles, your tendons, your organs, and your brain. So if you've come on this call because you've got a hyperactive child, you'll probably find they've got a shortage of carbon dioxide, which leads them to a shortage of oxygenation in their brain, and they go hyper. And it's a very common thing. And so what I want to do is to talk to you about how you get into a parasympathetic relaxed mode, which is breathing through your nose and breathing right down into your diaphragm. Breathing in, what does breathing in through your nose do for you? And this was some of the things that I found absolutely shocking and got me to convert how I breathed almost instantaneously. Breathing in through your nose cleans, hydrates, and warms the air so that it's the right temperature, it's cleaned before it gets to your lungs. And of course, with COVID-19, we don't know, but it might be even more important. Only the future will be able to tell us the answer to that one. Breathing out through your nose maximizes the oxygenation in your cells, your muscles, your tendons, your organs, and your brain. So that's great. You can keep enough oxygen to do oxygenation, and you will calm down. So it's deeply relaxing, and that's where you get into your parasympathetic, and that's where you can cope with emotions. Once you're in a relaxed state, you can cope with your emotions more easily. Of course, it aids sleep, and when you're breathing right down into your diaphragm, your shoulders aren't moving. You're not breathing right up here, which is what you're doing in mouth breathing. You're breathing right down into your lower lungs, and your lungs are sort of pear-shaped. And so what you want to do is breathe right down into the bottom into the base of them. And it's a bit like filling up a watering can from the, sorry, not a watering can, filling up a bucket, pouring water into it. You start with, it fills up from the bottom and comes up. That's where you want the oxygen to get to. And of course, if you're breathing right down into your diaphragm is moving up and down as you breathe. And then that's massaging your internal organs, which is also helping your digestion. If you're an athlete and you want to improve your performance, it's very well worthwhile looking at nose diaphragmatic breathing. I have started running very, very short spaces of time, I must tell you, a few seconds at a time, and I'm finding that the nose breathing is actually helping me quite dramatically. So how do you know which one you are? So where are you breathing from? The way I like to do it is to lay somebody down and put 3 little books on them, A, B, and C. And so the A is the upper chest, B is your belly, and C is almost above your trousers. It's right below your belly. And what you can do is just notice which one of those 3 books are moving. Are you moving the top one, which is A, which means you're breathing in your upper chest? Are you moving the middle one, which is your belly, that's where you're breathing from? And are you breathing right down into the top of your trousers? And the first thing to do is, when you're feeling emotional, is to think about your breathing. Breathe right down into the bottom of your belly, getting your diaphragm to move. So the minute you find an emotion coming up, check your breathing, and then move on to check your grounding. Because grounding is really difficult if you haven't got good breathing. So now you can get on to feeling more grounded, feeling more stable on the planet. And this helped me dramatically. Breathing helped me get more grounded, and grounding helped me reduce anxiety. So now you're breathing well, you can now try getting grounded. Think down into the roots. You see that little cartoon on the screen there? Think right down into the roots below your feet, as if you're a tree, and you've got roots going down into the ground, and they go further and further down into the ground, and then they spread right out, so that however hard you're pushed, you're still stable. And if I do this on my teddy, I can show you what to do. You put your hand on behind somebody so they don't fall over, and you give them a little push from the front to see how wobbly they are. And then you ask them to get grounded. So think down into their feet, think right down into the earth, spread out their roots until they feel really rooted, and then you'll find they don't hardly move. So thanks, Daddy. And when you're feeling emotional, the great thing is you can get rid of any unwanted emotions right down into the earth. You don't have to hold on to them, as that little picture in the bottom corner there is of a mum letting go of her stress, and she's teaching her daughter to do exactly the same. This also relates to ADHD and autism, and when I found out about breathing, I was astounded that the statistics from the US is that 70 to 80% of ADHD, people diagnosed with ADHD are mouth breathers. And you'll know that when children are upset, they gasp and they cry, and it's all going in and out through their mouth. And so the thing that I committed to is to tell as many people as possible, because nobody is telling the teachers and nobody is telling the parents about this statistic. and it is something that will take a little while to work on. It's not instantaneous. I've been practicing now for a year, and it's really interesting how my breathing has changed. And still I revert to breathing in the top of my chest sometimes, but I feel so much healthier for it.